Hello and welcome to Orc Mischief. I am your host Rob, as usual. Happy Orktober to all of my orc boys out there and girls, of course. And yeah, today we're going to do something pretty special. We got some new stuff. I got a new logo down there, or maybe here. I don't know wherever I end up putting it. I commissioned a new logo from an artist that I know, and she did a great job, and I like it, and it's pretty cool. So I'm going to start branding some stuff. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Get that shit out of the way. But yeah, today's video, we're going to do something rather special. We've got a couple of Shokkjump Dragstas, or more accurately, two halves of a Shokkjump Dragsta that have been converted into two different units. I'm sure I'm going to have like a spinny, or actually I'll probably have two spinnies. I'll have front half, back half spinnies, and then you guys can see it a little better. But anyway, this guy, a little bit of background on it. I got a Shokkjump Dragsta from my son for Father's Day, however long ago that was. And he's big into Rick and Morty, as am I. So I had seen a couple people chop these bad boys in half and put a portal between them and then use one Shokkjump Dragsta to be two. So I was like, that's really cool. But I'm going to amp it up a little bit extra and throw in a Rick and Morky, as it were. And so that's what I did. You can't really see them as well right now because they're not painted, but I'm sure I'm talking to you from the past, and by the time you see this, I'll have them all painted up, and they'll be looking good. Basically, I took a Big Mek as well and converted him into a Rick. So we'll get all into it here in a second. I think what we'll do is basically have like three parts. We'll have like the one half, the front half, then we'll have the back half, and then we'll talk about the Big Mek as well because, you know, normally you do kit bashing to save yourself some money. Like I turned one Shokkjump Dragsta into two, but I also spent like 40 something bucks on Big Mek and put him on here really for no reason. So then I decided to magnetize him so that he'd be able to go onto his own base to still perform as a Big Mek. So anyway, I've been rambling on long enough. Let's get into it, boys. All right, cool. So we'll go ahead and get started with the front half here and talk about how it became two halves. So I didn't just assemble the whole thing and then chop it in half. I looked at it as I was building it. I knew I was going to chop it in half, so I did it kind of strategically. I did it right there. You can kind of see, I need a third hand or some sort of Tech Marine extra hand. You can see I cut it right here, which is where these kind of bars lined up a little bit, and then I added these little wood pegs to see as if the exhaust is still going. You'll see it on the other side of it. I did a similar type thing here, same type thing. So I kind of recreated the middle section. That way I'd be able to do it at a kind of a predictable spot instead of just like chopping it randomly and then trying to glue everything back together. So yeah, I just kind of chopped it at a spot that made logical sense, and then I made, with a little bit of plastic card, an extra little section there. So obviously this is the front half. Normally I do these videos when everything's nice and painted. This one is obviously not painted yet. But I think that allows you to see the process of the build a little bit better, so that's why I'm doing it here. As you can tell, we'll just go front to back here. This is removable as for now, which is another reason I'm doing it now instead of when it's finished, because I'm sure I'm probably going to glue this down once it's done. But you can see I took a headlight off of, I don't know, something, and popped it onto a little piece of a bamboo skewer and used green stuff to make this little strap over. One of a couple of little things that I'm trying to do to make it very Rick and Morty-ish, his iconic trash cobbled together spaceship has a flashlight duct taped to the front, so I figured that was just very needed to have that in there. Here is Morky himself. He's got his stupid little Morky haircut and his t-shirt that's made out of green stuff, and the body itself and head are just from the old world goblin kit, which is used all the time by me. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on the front here. It's basically just a Shokkjump Dragsta with the stuff that I already kind of covered. And then a little German gas can there as well. Now the portal itself, and then you can see I've got the front half of a Necron. My whole thing here is that they're stealing a Necron Resurrection Orb, which is in Rick's little claw here. Right there. I'm sure you'll see it once it's painted. I'll probably do some object source lighting there, and it'll really stick out. For the portal itself, I thought about 3D printing a portal. I looked at a couple different ones. They were all kind of like 2D and flat, and I didn't really like the way they looked, and I didn't think they would actually look good on a 3D model. So I went ahead and just made one myself. I cut out a section of plastic cards. I put it over a heat gun to make it all kind of wavy and portally, and then I took hot glue and went over it and just kind of went in circular motions to kind of make that Rick and Morty-esque portal look about it. And that's pretty much it for the front. The front half is pretty relatively simple, so we'll move on to the next section here. All right, so we're moving along swimmingly here onto the next section, the back half. So this is the half that still has Rick and the aforementioned Necrons, as you can see here. So we'll go front to back as well. This is just a random normal Necron. He's like, whoa, what the heck is this portal thing? Maybe I should walk through it. I don't know. But yeah, here's a couple of other Necrons. We got one that's getting swept under. We got one that's been embedded into the pavement here. And then I don't know enough about Necrons to know what this guy is, but he looked fancy. He's got like this shield thing and this sword that he you know, trying to tell a story like he's attacking Rick, and after Rick stole this little orb, this guy's like, hey, that's my orb, you can't take that. And Rick's like, well, you can put your sword into my shoulder, but I'm just gonna blast you and then get the hell out of here. So that's pretty much what he's doing. Same process for the portal here. I just used the first one as a template to make the second one. That way they were the same shape. You can start to see what's going to be a theme here is an excessive use of magnets. But you know, magnets, how do they work? Well, you know, you put them together, and hopefully you put them together the right way and they work. But here's the back half, another old world goblin lower torso there, and then the lower torso of the front half of the Necron. So we've got those guys on the back half and these guys on the front half. So they continue on. Now you're thinking with portals. For the bottom here, I've got a couple of magnets and then just a couple of metal washers. That way they can attach to that guy with no issue. To make it a little more Rick and Morty here, you can see I've put these jet engines made by trash cans and a couple of Storm Boy payload caps there on the front for the little jet engine. I just took some, what's this stuff called? I'll think of it. I'll think of it when I'm editing, and I'll put what this stuff is, but for some reason I can't remember what it is. But anyway, it's not green stuff. You can tell it's white. And so I use this stuff. What the hell is this stuff? Anyway, when I find out later, it's going to be in the video. But anyway, so I use this stuff. It's a little more loosey-goosey, a little more liquidy than the green stuff is, so I kind of used it here. I just stuck these trash cans up as if they were, you know, like a trash can a couple of homeless dudes are hanging out over, and then just kind of took the white stuff here and pulled it up with various sculpting tools. And then same thing here as it's washing over this Necron boss man, whatever he is. But yeah, so this Rick is also magnetic because there's magnets inside there and that little ramshackle bottom that I made here. But yeah, Rick himself is a Big Mek. As you can tell, I did a little bit of modifications here. Did a green stuff lab coat that's kind of on half of his body here. This half's all mechanics, so I was like, whatever. Did the Rick hair with green stuff, obviously. There's this bald spot and all that kind of stuff. This is, so he comes with one of these, but it was a little bit different, and it was really hard to get the orb inside. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So it was a little hard to get the orb inside this pincher claw thing. So I took the pincher claw from a Mega Knobs kit and used it. That way I could kind of cut it up a little bit easier and use it. Looks pretty much the same, but actually not the one that came with the kit. Speaking of coming with the kit, he can also, alternatively, be a mech. So yeah, now I can use it. Oh, maybe I'll have to add more magnets. But anyway, yeah, he can function as a mech. Maybe I'll just hold him by the mech part. And then he can be a standalone unit. And this is also magnetic, but with a pin. That way it kind of fits in there a little bit. That way this guy, you can get in there to paint, and then also I can get Rick in there a little easier in and out without having to finagle stuff and potentially Rick stuff. I took a few pieces of plastic card to put these things together, and that's pretty much all she wrote there. So we'll talk about the Big Mek himself, Rick. Cool, so here is the Big Mek. It is kind of an expensive model to just throw an orc on there, especially when I have a million kitbashable orcs. But I really wanted this mech that's on the Shokkjump Dragsta to be really epic, and of course, since it's Rick, I wanted him to be kind of like a title character type thing. So I took my Big Mek. It had been sitting on my shelf for months and months and months, so long that I had ordered one, and then I was waiting on it for so long that I built my own. This guy. So here is my kitbashed Big Mek. I don't know, maybe we'll talk about him more later. He's kind of cool too. So I didn't really need another Big Mek, so I was like, you know, I'll make him part of this, and I'll also make him playable on his own, and that way I can use him for both. Only other thing, I got his little, I don't know, whatever this Shokkjump thing is, the teleporty thingy. I magnetized that so that A, it can spin, which is fun. That's just a fun little touch. And B, it doesn't really fit whenever you put him in the car itself. Which, as you can see, he gets in the car rather easily, actually, even though it looks pretty findly. But he doesn't really fit all the way with that teleporty thing on his back. So it's magnetic as well. And I think that's all she wrote. This felt like a short video for me. It probably wasn't, but we'll see when it's done. Cool, so that's pretty much that. I appreciate you guys stopping by and checking this thing out. It was a lot of fun to make. I say that's that. I still need to paint this bad boy. But yeah, you know what? I'm talking to you from the past, so actually it's painted. Look at it. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm guessing there's not going to be too much that's cosmic with the paint job, a little bit of object source lighting, but that's about it. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll check you later. All right, and ta-da, here we are, all painted, and I think it turned out pretty sweet. Yeah, hopefully this comes through. I wanted this to look like a dugout underground, maybe limestone cave or something like that, where it's stone. Hopefully it doesn't come across as snow. I don't know. If it works, it works, but it's supposed to be concrete. But anyway, I'll just go through a couple of details here, and we'll start with the front. A little bit of object source lighting, like previously discussed there. Pretty much mainly slap chop stuff here. I did like orc flesh for the background of this, and then highlighted with a mixture of, I think, moot green and some maybe, I don't know, bad moon's yellow or something like that, to make the lime green, and just kind of popped along some of the threads as I went, and just kind of picked out some of them there, and it ended up making that Rick and Morty dark green and lime green mix pretty well. Other than that, obviously the one thing that you'll notice, or maybe won't notice, but this little guy here. Ooh-wee! This little guy is Mr. Poopybutthole. Those of you who aren't familiar with the lore, the deep lore of Rick and Morty, I added a couple of little goblin ears to him, as well as I shrunk down a teeny little chain sword. Don't know if you can see that or not. I'll have to probably put a picture up, but that's okay. Obviously, I went with a road here, just kind of taped off an area for the center line. But other than that, just my standard road situation here. These are cork pop holders that you just size to whatever base you have and cut them up there. These, I had, obviously it came with one base in the Shokkjump Dragsta. I just printed off another one and then and used the cork on top of it. So we can go ahead and move on to the next one. So pretty much everything here is as was previously depicted, although a couple little details. Oh yeah, I did add, I think, one little beer bottle here on the front, classic Rick stuff there, and then I think there's a couple of beer bottles inside here as well. Yeah, a couple in front of them, and then the 6-pack there sitting there. One time when I was in college, there was a girl at a tailgate, and she just like drives off with, obviously clearly drunk, with a 6-pack on her roof, and I don't know if that doesn't describe tailgating at college. I don't know what does. So it just made me think of Rick. So be responsible. Don't be like these idiots. Here is the orb, the Resurrection Orb that Rick has been trying to get. Everything else on here, I think, is unchanged. But obviously, I tried to make this look like it was kind of scraped along the concrete, because I don't know. I didn't want it to look like snow, because that didn't really make sense. I didn't think. I thought, you know, if he's stealing this Resurrection Orb from a tomb world, it would be like deep in a cave somewhere. So that's what this is supposed to be. But either way, if it looks good, it looks good. And then, oh yeah, so I printed off a portal gun for him as well. So I got my 3D printer, my resin 3D printer rather, fixed, and replaced the FEP film recently. So I'll actually be able to put a couple little details like that every once in a while. And then here is the base.
Obviously I've built it up a little bit with some green stuff and added a little hole so that you can actually do this. Because earlier in the video you could see how you would hold it and it would just kind of flop around. And this looks a lot better. Now the spinny thing, the Shokkjump portal thing that goes here, I lost it. I have no idea where it is. So whenever I find it, I will actually paint it and it'll find its way back on here. But for now, it's just kind of lost in the warp. But yeah, overall, I think this turned out really great, and I think that's pretty much all I wanted to highlight there. I did a couple of this is like Dirty Down Rust. And this is some emerald green contrast paint for the little fluid that's leaking out of there. To make this guy flatten down as well, I don't think I talked about that earlier, I just took a heat gun and just kind of worked him slowly until he was basically flat, and then I shaved off his back because his back is very bulbous, which is another reason why I wanted to have like the scrapes here, so that like he's basically being scraped along the bottom of the car here for a while, and then just kind of belts off as the thing bolts away. I think that does it. I want to thank you guys for stopping by and checking this stuff out. All right, so that does it for the Shokkjump Dragsta, the WAAAAAAAAAAGH A-Lubba Dub Dub Dragsta. My son thought that was pretty funny, so we'll stick with that for the title. Market complete, boys. We are done with Shokkjump Dragsta. I think it turned out pretty sweet. I appreciate whoever came up with the first dude to cut one of these bad boys in half and make it into two. I appreciate the idea. Obviously, I built upon it and did my own thing with it, and I think it turned out pretty sweet. So don't forget to just treat that like and subscribe button like an unruly grot. You know, abuse it, destroy it, smash it. And that's pretty much all I got. I got plenty more on the horizon. As you can see here, I got many more to go. And as you can see from the giant pile of trash behind me, I've got plenty of projects that are in the hopper. So we'll catch you next time. And yeah, thanks for stopping by.